Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. I'm Piano Man Steve Lungrin, founder of the Piano Man Approach online piano course, pianomanapproach.com, and learningmusicIsfun.com. Today we are going to be looking at a simple way to sort of get around the difficulties of the stride, sort of the stride ragtime piano. So there's a little rhythm pattern that you can use either if you're more of a novice at the piano, or in my case, it's something I use. I'm fairly advanced at the piano, but I don't do enough ragtime music and I don't have enough need for it in my life that I really want to put the time in to get really good at the traditional stride style. So I need something that'll sound good that I can put together more quickly. And that's kind of, so there's a lot of different reasons you might use this, but that's kind of what we're going to be looking at today. Very quickly, before we get started, I just want to ask if you enjoy content like this, I'd sure appreciate it if you would give it a like and subscribe to my channel and share it with anyone who might like it, all that good stuff. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. All that helps me get into the YouTube algorithm here and get more exposure. And of course, if you enjoy the way I teach, you can go down in the video description there, and I've got a link to my course. I've got some free goodies there for you, all of that kind of stuff, and just check it out, pianomanapproach.com. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let me show you quickly what we're talking about here in this video. So I'm going to use as sort of a basis of explanation here, we're going to be working off of one of the most famous ragtime pieces of all time, The Entertainer by Scott Joplin. We all know that one. Now, I'm not a great ragtime player, which some of you might think, well, now, why am I listening to you if you're not a great ragtime player? Because this video is for people who are not good ragtime players, and this is a system hack. So I am not going to claim to be the world's foremost expert on it, but I am going to show you some things that you can do that'll make you sound pretty darn good. So that's the song that we're going to be using. So the stride style, when I say stride style, what it means is it's kind of a knockoff of a rhythm pattern that I teach that I call the country feel, and it looks kind of like this. Okay, and that's where in the bass notes, what you've got going on is you're playing the root of a chord. So on a C chord, that'd be like a C, and you're alternating back and forth between the 5 of the chord, which is in this case a G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on the offbeats, 1 and you're just playing the C chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. For stride style, you're basically doing that country feel with your left hand alone. So the traditional stride style looks something like this, and I'm going to do it kind of slow. And then up top, you have room for your right hand to do other stuff. And so, like, I can noodle around with that sort of thing a little bit, and it, you know, kind of sounds ragtime-ish if you can get that down. Okay, so that's what most ragtime is. The problem with that is that it takes a fair amount of practice to kind of master doing that and then to actually throw your right hand into the mix. So what we're looking at today is a way to replace that that's much simpler. So I'm going to give you 2 potential ways to replace it. One is the most simple, and then another one that's a little more difficult, but not as difficult as traditional stride. So the first one is to replace that part of it where you have to play the chord 1 and, right, like that. You're going to replace that by playing the octave. So you're going to go pinky, octave, and then down here. And you can do this on any chord. And if you have a moment in the song where there's a passing chord, or for some reason it's not alternating back and forth between the 1 and the 5 and that bass, then you can just stay on the root of the chord. It can just be until you get to a place where you can get back to the alternation. And just for my little noodling, like I said, it sounds kind of raggy if you can go. Same concept is true if I can do this. Right? So, and obviously I'm making that up. So let's look at how that would apply in a song that you've actually heard, which I say we're going to use The Entertainer, which was kind of made famous in that soundtrack for the Sting with Paul Newman and Robert Redford. So traditionally it would look kind of like this. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is let's pretend that maybe you just came across the written melody and it was really simple and you just looked like this. It's like I didn't drink my V8 or eat my Wheaties this morning. So you can take that and underneath it go. So it's C, F, and then it moves to a C over an E bass, and this is the time where you just and then goes to a G bass, da 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 da, back to C, and it works really nice. Let me do that a little slower just so that you can really see what's going on here. What it does is it creates that rhythmic bounce. Bounce, 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 bounce. Bounce, bounce, bounce. That's kind of what we're doing there. It doesn't play a chord, but it is creating that kind of bouncy rhythmic thing. And when you get it up to speed, even at a more simple way of executing the melody and a simpler way of doing the left hand, it sounds pretty nice. Okay, so that's one way of going about it, is you replace the stride style with this pinky thumb octave strategy. And remember, if you're not on the chord long enough to do an alternation between the 1 and the 5 of that chord, then you're just on the root only. Da 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 da, B flat da da da, A flat, G, G, C, right? So what's another way that you can do it? What's the next step up? Well, now we're going to get a little closer to the traditional stride, but instead of making your hand jump around and do this stuff, right? What we're going to do is just play pinky and then the chord like this. So the simplified way of that would be to eliminate the alternating bass. Just leave out moving from the 1 to the 5 and just stay on the 1. So what we've got here in this song happens to be a C chord, then an F chord, and then a C chord over an E. So we play the E, and then here's the rest of your C chord. It's like you're playing it in what we call first inversion. So this is root inversion, C, E, G. This is first inversion, where we put E on the bottom, G, C. Right? Okay. And then it goes to a G bass with a C chord. So now we're playing that C chord in second inversion. Root inversion, first inversion, second inversion, G, C, E, like this. So it goes G in the bass with a C chord, and then G in the bass with a G chord, and then back to C. Okay. Now, if you're comfortable, then you can move on to doing the alternating bass note when you're on a chord long enough to justify it, like this C chord. So you can play. And for me, the way I do it is I would keep my hand like this and stretch it out an octave like that. Keep the chord part that you're playing in the same spot. And if you can get that up to speed. And, that sounds pretty nice. And then from there, you have all the options in the world that you want. As you're practicing and you expand your capabilities, maybe you make the melody more complicated. Maybe you bring in some of these harmonic things where you harmonize the melody a little bit. Or whatever it is. I'm not great. Like I say, I'm not great at this kind of music. It's just not something I do a lot of, and so it's not something that I've practiced my way into greatness with. But it's something that where I need to play on occasion, I do it well enough that it sounds kind of good to me, and it certainly sounds good enough for most audiences. And a lot of you are just doing this as hobbyists, so you got to pick something that sounds satisfying and feels satisfying for you. But what's nice is that you don't have to just look at it as, well, the way the entertainer is played is like this. You know, and you listen to the most advanced recording of anyone in history, or you listen to the old piano rolls of Scott Joplin, who was a virtuoso, and then you're like, well, you know, until I can master it that way, then I can't play the entertainer. Well, that's not true. There's a version that's accessible for you, and it might start out like this. And it might work its way eventually to this. And it might work its way from there to this. And it might work from there to here. And at no time did I ever play it the full way that it's notated out in the original piano roll, and that the most advanced ragtime player who's really mastered that stride style, at no time did I ever get to that level. But I'm playing it with a lot of confidence at the level that I am practiced up to. You see what I'm getting at? And that makes all the difference in the world. I'm playing it with authority. So the whole point of the Piano Man approach method is to teach people how to find their point of entry to music, and to be able to take simple tools and principles that can be executed both in very novice, simple, sort of unglamorous ways, or that can be, you know, created variations, and that can be enhanced and modified to much greater advanced application. And in both cases, give them the tools to be able to execute at whatever level they're practiced up to with great authority, so that your barrier to entry into music should not really be a high level. You should be able to get in and start having fun making music quickly. And that's what we do with pop music, but it's workable in music outside of traditional sort of like modern pop. It's also applicable in old-time jazz and old-time ragtime and old-time folk and all kinds of stuff. I can even approximate some classical music this way. So anyway, hopefully this is a usable technique. I want you to walk away from videos like this on our free lesson Fridays. We do this every Friday, put out some kind of teaching content. And I always want to make sure, at least the goal that I have whenever I start filming one is, what can I show you that you might be able to take with you and use tomorrow, whether you're an advanced player or a very much more novice player? Is there some technique that I can pass along that you can actually take out and start applying in your piano playing some way, somehow, that you can bring to it your current level of playing? So I hope I've been able to do that with these simple ragtime techniques. And I'm going to hang it up from there so that we don't get this too convoluted. But thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, come check us out at pianomanapproach.com. We have a lot more information about my courses and some free stuff over there for you. And we'd just love to have you come look things over. And in the meantime, remember my personal mantra, which is, if you're not having fun when you're making music, you're doing it wrong. And I will see you guys on the next free lesson Friday. All right? Piano Man Steve signing out. Bye-bye.